She's hanging out again. She may leave, but for now she's hanging. She's hanging with the cool kids. Look at this face, it's so freaking cute. We're gonna do chapter 8 and chapter 9. It's gonna be really rough, but we're gonna give it a whirl. Okay. Chapter 8. My life is more often than not a series of tragic events, isn't it? No. Your life? I wouldn't call them tragic events. I would call them events that you totally fucking perpetrated. Me being like so many other people, I speak up the most when something goes wrong, and today is no different. Okay, great. Great. My little fragile life feels like it's falling apart more than ever before. More than ever before? Okay. Principal Lehman found out I was sent to juvenile hall and used that as an excuse to expel me. Can they do that? Can they do that? I really have no idea. On my dad's voicemail, he said, Mr. Lindfeld, your son was already on probation at school. His recent arrest has prompted me to expel him. Oh my god, you just explained that. And now Principal Lehman is re-explaining it. That's boring as fuck. I warned your son would happen if he got into any further trouble. Yeah, but that didn't happen on school property. So does he have the right to expel him? I really, really want to know. I don't know if it makes sense or I don't know. Sadie, what do you think? What do you think, you little butt? Oh, she's so lovely. The items in his locker will be mailed to the address listed in the file. What? Okay. Now my dad refuses to acknowledge me beyond moments where verbal communication is an absolute necessity. Right. Why did your dad even bail you out of prison? Why didn't he just leave you there, press charges against you? Oh my god, you shed so much. Look at this. Look at this pile of fat cat fur. It's so sweet. It's not really that much of a loss, considering he barely cared in the first place. My girlfriend Ashley is still supportive as always. Oh my god. Ugh. She is basically the only person in my life who is even remotely kind to me these days. James and Abby 2.0, except with unprotected sex mixed in. It's been more difficult to find an opportunity to see her now that my father is worried I'm going to get her pregnant. He's right to be worried that you're going to get her pregnant. He's right to worry about that, you fucker. That's caring for your son. Oh, he was extremely lenient before. He had no idea we were intimate. Right. And then he finds that out and is like, no, my son's not gonna knock up his girlfriend at age 17. Him reading my journal changed the entire vibe in the house. All the murderous thoughts I expressed having earlier, I'm sure didn't help. Right, right. You had those murderous, violent thoughts earlier. You don't have them anymore, do you? It doesn't work like that. If you're that fucked up where you dream about killing people over and over again. In the daytime. You have daytime fantasies about fucking killing people. That just doesn't go away because you stuck your wiener into somebody. But you know what? I don't care. This is who I am. I'm not going to pretend and live a lie like my father does. You are so not that self-aware at age 17. You're rarely that self-aware at age 17, where you just are that forever and never change again. So this is just whiny bullshit teenage angst at this point. There is plenty of ugliness in me. I could deny it and act like it would all be forgiven by some magical being. Or I could just own it. The second option is undeniably more honest. He rakes his honesty into everything. I know, she's trying to turn it off. You don't like it, do you? I don't like it either. You got a big piece of crap in your eye, though. Can I take that out? I know. There you go. That's a girl. That's a Mrs. Sadie. Whenever I'm around my dad, it always feels like an ongoing passive-aggressive battle, because you're the most passive-aggressive piece of shit ever. My father, being as religious as he is, refuses to directly admit I've slept with someone out of wedlock. No. Because, what? No, he doesn't admit that. He's saying, I don't want you to get your girlfriend pregnant. That's pretty much admitting that, yeah, my son has been intimate. Ew, Greg, gross. Like, I just don't see the dad, like, we have no dialogue and no specific encounters where the dad is really, like, jerking off about religion. We're only taking Arthur's word for it. So it's really kind of unbelievable to assume that the dad, like, talks about religion as much as he does, when we're only seeing Arthur's words about it. His magical book strictly forbids that after all. Sad thing is, I've slept with my girlfriend more times in the last month than he has with his girlfriend ever. How the fuck do you know that? That is some creepy bullshit. And it's braggarty. Like, it's... What do you... Like, I get more sex than my dad. Like, fucking ew! He's trying to turn it off! You're so cute. You are such a nice lady. You're trying to save me from Greg's bullshit, aren't you? Ew! Ew! Pretty sure my orgasms bring me more joy than his religion ever brought him as well. Ew! Ew, ew, ew! How many more times is he gonna talk about the religion? It's so annoying and it's so repetitive. It must be awful laying next to that useless sack of lard, not having the courage to break up with her, all the while not getting any action either. What a joke. Greg, like, your parents' sex life is absolutely none of your fucking business. How you know how many times your dad bangs his girlfriend is gross to think about. Boop. Actually, her being here makes it much more bearable. Because she's so snuggly. She's so snuggly. She's so nice. My father will say things like, maybe you shouldn't spend as much time with Ashley. I'm always like, what not, father? You know, in exactly the condescending, why not, father tone anyone who thinks their dad is a total idiot would use. What? Oh my god, you suck so hard at descriptions. He's like, you know that tone? You know that tone, reader? You know that tone I'm talking about? No, we don't. Why don't you show us what kind of tone you're using instead of telling us what kind of tone you're using, like a dumbass. Ooh, man, there's snot that fell out of my nose right there. Oh, there's cat hair in my eye. Oh my god, you are I gotta like shave you. My father will then say something like, because you need to focus on your future. What that really means coming from him is, I read your journal where you said you don't use condoms with your girlfriend. But I'm going to still pretend like I never read it, despite me already admitting I did when you caught me red-handed. Oh my god! 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 How did you glean that? How? From that little sentence. How? Oh god, you fucking asshole. Sadie, Mrs. Sadie. If you could just not be around Ashley for a reason I'm willing to say aloud and maybe wake up one day loving the same God I do, that would be great. Idiot. See, that's how Greg's mind works. Somebody gives an opinion or somebody gives a thought, and just because Greg, like, interprets things to cater to his thoughts. And that's not how normal people, like, work. That's not like normal or healthy to do that, because if you're not taking things at face value sometimes, if you don't have the ability to do that. Oh, there's cat hair fucking everywhere. Thank you. It was nice and warm where she was sitting. If you don't have the ability to take things at face value and to, like, see somebody's side point of view, then you just become a fucking asshole, which is what he excels at. Despite everything, Ashley and I were intimate literally every chance we can get. Literally, I hate... Oh, God damn it! Wait, and listen, Ashley and I are intimate. Alright, whatever, Greg, if you say so. You're just bragging about your sexual prowess now. I can't even take my hair out of my hairband, or what is this called? Hair tie. I can't even do it. Ow. I don't wanna. Why would I do this? Whenever and wherever we can tear each other apart, we take it in. Good for you! Who cares? You get the sex on a regular basis. Some of us don't. But do just fine. Oh, I'm not even kidding. Okay. My life is falling apart and I barely care so long as my body is crashing against hers. Fucking A. Like the way he's describing it is like they see each other, they immediately fuck like rabbits, and then they can't see each other, and then as soon as they see each other again, they fuck like rabbits. Like, you don't talk to her, you don't go out on dates with her, you just fuck her relentlessly? Considering I'm expelled, there's a small part of me that still lives in reality and is concerned about my academic future. This little voice suggests I get a GED. I think my first goal is the good enough degree, and after that, the military. So he can kill things? I don't necessarily love the idea of dying for my country, but it's a great alternative to being stuck with my father and his rotten, hairless albino moose of a girlfriend. Rotten, hairless albino moose. Like, that doesn't even... I can't even picture what that looks like. I hate Greg's mind. I haven't spoken to Ashley in depth about my plans to join the military. No, because you fucking... all you do is bang her. You don't talk to her, you just bang her. She doesn't seem like the kind of person to just let me go. If I do successfully make it into the armed forces, I think I'd want her to go with me. Oh my god! That's her choice if she wants to. But I have no idea how that would even work. Well, why did you... What an outlandish scenario. Someone who kind of got me into the military idea is Ashley's brother Thomas. He's younger than her, but has plans of joining himself. Thomas told me so long as I get a GED, I could actually get a decent job in the Air Force, so long as my ASVAB test scores are sufficient. What is that? Is that a common acronym? Also, Air Force. Yeah, Greg wants to go in the Air Force. This is pretty... It's the parallels to his life. See, I don't know if it would be... If it would be weirder to read this with not knowing what we do about Greg. Because, you know, apparently this, the making your girlfriend go goth has actually happened to him. And we know that because he wrote it all down years ago on a website. If you check my Tumblr, I posted it. Somebody, sent me the link and I posted it. So, I don't know if it would be weirder, like, knowing what we do know about Greg. You know what I mean? I'm trying to articulate it right now. I'm like asleep all day. Because we know he went into the Air Force. We know that he was, like, gothic in high school. Like, we just know too much about his life. To the point where we see it in print now. And he's trying to make a story out of it. Because, really, he has no other experience to talk about other than his own life. He can't create a universe that is not his own. It's a bonus that I possibly get... What? Hang on. It's a bonus that I would possibly get to go to college for free under the GI Bill once I get out. Yeah, right, you're not going to college. This all sounds pretty fantastic, considering it all points to me never having to see my father or his girlfriend again. The contempt you have for your father is ridiculous. To be technical, statistically I won't wind up littered with bullets either, so there's that. Yeah, but, like, weren't you talking about, like, wanting to die a couple times? At least a few times. You may wonder why I would never want to see either of my guardian figures ever again. I mean, you would if you haven't been paying attention at all this far. What are you berating the reader about for now? Regardless, some things have happened in my past that I haven't yet mentioned. You know, additional tragic stuff I warned you about before. This is creepily manifesto right now. Like, look at all the bad things that happened to me. This is why I am this way. This is why, like, you should have seen this coming, guys. Ugh. After getting expelled from school, I found myself trying to get my mind off what a massive failure I had become. Every day Ashley was at school, I would sit alone in the darkness of the basement, playing video games and watching reruns of light-hearted TV shows. Sure, I believe that. I totally believe that. Ugh. You may say, but Arthur, I thought you were always motivated. Insert additional idiotic comment, I'm stupid and should shut up. You're right, you should shut up. You can go fuck yourself. Beating my father half to death, followed by getting expelled, drove a semi-truck through my plans my entire life. All I have left is the military. Are we supposed to feel fucking sorry for this kid now? Oh, go fuck yourself. With a rusty fucking pipe. As for the madness that went down recently, the other night I was called down to consume a meal that was prepared by Frogface. And I just happened to not be hungry. The dish of curse. That's how he wrote it. It's supposed to be of course, but he wrote of curse. The dish of curse was vegetarian. It wasn't even the bearable kind of vegetarian. Rather the type of vegetarian food you eat that make people wonder if there's something wrong with you. Examples? Like, do you think we're in your head all the time, Greg? We just know what the fuck you're talking about? Let me elaborate on that. I just don't understand why you wouldn't just elaborate on it. Why do you have to be like, oh, it's like this. Let me explain. Let me explain. Like, just explain it. It's just too jarring on the reader. It makes my head hurt. There are some vegetarian foods that I find somewhat decent tasting. They're called vegetables. Then there are these fake cheeses vegans invented that taste essentially like your grandmother crapped into a jar of flour, sprayed it with a hose, put it in the oven, ran over it with her car, put it back in the oven, blended it up, put it under the sun to dry, and then slapped it on a veggie burger. I wanna hit you in the face! Ow. Is that supposed to be fucking funny? Was I supposed to laugh heartily? Oh, sorry. My nose is like dribbling a little bit. Do you understand where I'm coming from? You don't like the taste, is what you're coming from. I don't want to eat their fake cheese just because they want to try something different than cow puss dairy. What? I just broke. I just don't understand. Did he mean cow puss? P-U-S as opposed to puss? P-U-S-S? He wrote P-U-S-S. Of course, someone with a spine would object, so I did. What happened as a result? Insanity. I sat at the table, took one look at the meal and asked, "Can I be excused? I'm not hungry." You know, because my father is a control freak whose kids have to ask him permission to leave the table once they've sat down. Jesus Christ. That's pretty standard protocol to ask to be excused. Or to announce, "Excuse me, I'm leaving." I don't know too many parents when I was growing up. I didn't know, being at your friends' houses, we'd always ask, "May I be excused?" I mean, when I was a kid, I had to ask to be excused from the dinner table. Like, that doesn't seem like an outlandish thing to me. My father didn't like the idea of me leaving the table without eating the meal his abomination for a companion had prepared, so he commanded me to stay. I smiled as politely as I could and said, "No, I was just asking as a courtesy." "Oh, you're so condescending!" And proceeded to attempt leaving the room. It was at that point my father stood up just enough to pretend he was in control, but just out of my pathway to avoid the possibility of me deciding to beat the hell out of him again. What? As I began to leave, he screamed out, "Call the cops," to his girlfriend. Fuck that. I cannot for a second suspend my disbelief enough that because the kid smarmily left the dinner table, your dad would call the cops. I don't believe it for a fucking second. She immediately proceeded to the phone in the kitchen and began dialing. He spelled dialing D-I-A-L-L-I-N-G. I reacted in shock. Are you serious? I reacted in shock. Like, that is so show don't tell. That's like painfully show don't tell. I reacted in shock. That's like they should use that phrase in ow, I just cut my face with my nail. Not cut it, but scratched it. With a nervous expression, my father looked back at me in silence. Why is he nervous all of a sudden? You have the balls to call the cops. on something that they're probably gonna fucking charge you with a misdemeanor for a false 911 call. And now he's nervous all of a sudden? His hands weren't shaking, he wasn't whimpering, but he was clearly terrified of round 2 with his meat-eating atheist son. Ugh. You're going to call the cops on your son for not wanting to eat a meal? I asked, scoffing at their awful parenting. This is just far too far-fetched. I complied with their demand that I stay in the dining room for the moment. Okay, didn't the girlfriend dial 911? They can't just hang up on 911. I was eager to watch the cops rip them apart for wasting their time on something so trivial. After a few minutes, the doorbell rang. Me being ignorant of how the world really works, I assumed the cops would be completely on my side. It's not really you being ignorant to the world, it's you being a permanent victim, thinking that everybody needs to be on your side and will see you or your side of the things. My father explained to them that I refused to eat the meal they prepared, which is why they called the cops. The cops would be like, alright, have a nice day, assholes, and then just turn around and leave. The police officer my father spoke to and looked at me and asked me, what's your problem? Really? Really? This is more insane shit. This is the most insane shit I've ever fucking read. I don't know what kind of crap sack world Greg lives in, but this shit doesn't happen. I don't believe that your father would choke you for your father, who we've never seen really any violent tendencies, would choke you for saying something really rude about your girlfriend, his girlfriend, whatever. Which, yeah, it was rude, but to choke and almost kill you is ridiculous. And then have him bail you out of jail. And then, for really no reason, the dad's calling the cops on you because you won't eat, and now the policemen are thinking about taking you in. This is totally ridiculous. I tried to encourage the outcome I initially expected by saying to the officer, it seems like they're wasting your time by calling you about a kid not wanting to eat dinner. Oh, it's so creepy. God damn it, he's just like totally admitting how fucking manipulative he is. The officer responded, you have a bad attitude, kid. We're here to straighten you out if need be. Do we need to take you in? Oh my god. The officer glared at me intensely as if he was about to whip out his baton and pummel me. God, I wish he would. How fun would that be? That would be actually an exciting event that happens. Is the police officer just beats the shit out of Greg. And instead of everybody talking about police brutality, in this case, praise the shit out of him. That'd be funny. I felt like I was living in some crazy alternate reality where nothing makes sense and everyone around me plays my completely different rules that have no consistent logic or justification. Then why write about it? Why not even try to be realistic for a second? What? Like, what the fuck? I felt frozen in my silence. I didn't want to believe a cop would really just threaten to arrest a kid for not eating his goddamn dinner. That's it, though. That's reality, and I had to accept it. This is not reality. This is so far and away what reality is. I repeated what the officer said again and again in my mind. My conclusion? Yeah, the cop really just asked me what I thought he asked me. He was really going to arrest me over not eating a meal. How many times are you going to say that? Oh my fuck. Just because my biological sperm donor, ew. That's not right. Ordered me to. I stood there silently looking at the ground. The officer warned me that if there were further issues, they'd take me in right away. No. I don't even think the police would fucking come to the house. What's the girlfriend gonna say? Our son won't eat his vegetables. And they would show up anyway? I don't believe it. I don't believe it! I don't believe you! I never felt like a piece of property more than I had in that moment. You treat your girlfriend like a piece of property, so shut the fuck up. I wasn't their child. I was a dog to them, and if I didn't obey, it was the kennels for me. Once the officers left, I wasn't even told to eat the food. Once they closed the front door, I literally walked upstairs and went to bed, and nothing. After all that, they didn't even bother trying to remind me to sit at the table and eat the meal. Okay. They called the cops all so they could wind up complying with my wishes. What? I don't think it was that was not correct. I don't think it was because they were suddenly out of nowhere being respectful of what I wanted, as if I was an equal human being. Really? What? They were probably just sick of my face. I'm sick of your face! My father was already terrified of me. But brazen enough to call the cops on you? Maybe sitting across from me at this point would just ruin his appetite. Appetite. This is how he spelled appetite. Ready? A-P-A-T-I-T-E. Ugh! Fuck you. There was no future for me in that household. I had to leave, and the military was my way out. I would do anything to make this happen. It will happen. Okay. Great. Chapter 9's kind of long. I don't wanna. Ugh. What? How far are we? We're 35% of the way through. Oh boy. So I read over this journal a bit, and it's pretty clear I've been a pretty depressed pain in the butt. If you're reading this, you're probably confused as to why the sudden change. No, I'm just confused as to why you wrote it, or why your mind works the way it is. What the fuck happened to you in your childhood, Greg, to make you this way? What happened? Well, the situation has changed. A lot has happened since I wrote the last entry, so I'll help you catch up. It's just like, I don't, the way he wrote this, it's supposed to be a journal, right? And he's like, oh, I don't think anybody's ever gonna, you don't expect people to read your journal, am I right? I never really consistently kept a journal as a kid, or as an adult even. I never really did that. It's just some people don't do that, and it's okay. Not everybody has to keep a journal. But the way you write journals, from what is understanding, is not everybody's supposed to read it. It's supposed to be your personal self-expression written down. So the way that he wrote it, it's like he expected people to read this insane shit. It's why it's more manifesto than a journal. I did wind up getting my GED and applying to join the military. Wow, okay. Ashley wasn't happy with me wanting to join, so she basically acted like if I decided to run off to basic training, she would consider that me leaving her. Why did you have to write it like that? She wasn't happy if I wanted to join. She would consider that me leaving her. All I just say was, if I decided to run off to basic training, she would think I was leaving her. She would consider that me leaving her. I hate your head. I hate Greg's mind. Despite Ashley's feelings, I had only one decision to make. I had to choose between being around my crazy father 40% of my day and only seeing my girlfriend maybe 10%. Or I could choose to have a job. I just totally lost my place. And likely never see either of them again. I
chose to walk, and since I made that decision, I've completely lost touch with Ashley. Boo the fuck who? You would expect me to be more broken up than I am. No. Stop speaking for the reader. Let them come to their own fucking conclusions. But she went cold on me the moment I confirmed I was leaving. Victim playing once again. It was like the second the words left my lips, she erased everything about me in her mind, and suddenly I was no one. It was mental. Regardless, fuck you in the word regardless. I already went through MEPS, Military Entrance Processing Station, and I'm pretty glad that it's over, considering that was one of the most significant aspects of me processing into the military. While I was in the processing station, what is, like, you don't even explain what MEPS is to, like, the layman. Is it an entrance exam? Is it a mental exam? A mental exam. Is it a training exam to see if you're qualified to go in? I don't know what it is. While I was in the processing station, I witnessed a lot of human failure. It was an interesting experience seeing grown men cry because they didn't have the depth perception to be pilots. You don't think that if somebody, their whole life, leads up to this moment where they want to, say, some people want to join the military. That some people, that's been the dream their whole life, and then they find out they can't do it because of something they have no control over. You don't think they would cry? You think that that's a fucking weakness? I don't blame them. Some of the men weren't physically strong enough to even be considered for any job at all. They even denied people for having a blood pressure level they didn't like. Well, that makes fucking sense. You don't want to have too high a blood pressure because that means you have it's not good. I understand being upset about being rejected entirely, but some guys were sobbing over the fact that they couldn't get the specific job title they wanted. Life for a lot of people seems to be about not appreciating what you have and always wanting more. Oh my fucking God. God, he's such a prick, just judging people for their own thoughts and their own feelings. He's just like, that's not how it should be. He's such an asshole. Greg, I mean, and Arthur, but Arthur is now Greg's avatar again. If the same guy who failed the vision test and cried actually passed it, he would no doubt have another episode down the line. Why the fuck would you say that? Maybe it would be some other test he'd fail, or some administrative decision that denied his wishes to fly the specific type of plane he wanted. Really? Do you really think that way? Because the military gives you discipline. If people are sobbing, like, when they're not in the military about something, then, like, whatever. But then they get into the military and they realize that, like, oh, maybe I can do this other thing. Oh, maybe I'll do this other thing. That's kind of how life is. If you're disappointed about something, that you don't get what you want, because you can't always get what you want. So if you're disappointed that you didn't get the thing, what happens? One door closes, another one opens. My favorite Cat Stevens quote is, life is like a maze of doors, and they all open from the side you're on. Okay? You go through one door, and it closes behind you. You just keep pressing forward and seeing what other opportunities lie ahead of you. I wanted to go to NYU so badly. I did early acceptance there. That's all I wanted to do to go to NYU. And they rejected me. Was I upset? Fucking right I was upset. What happened? I got into Northwestern and I had a fucking great time. Life is like a maze of doors, and they all open from the side that you're on. So, shut up! What all that accumulated to was all that was the crescendo to telling Greg to shut the fuck up. Self-assigned victims will always be victims. That is what you are. I don't want to call him pathetic because I'm trying to be more positive. But my hate runs deep and I can't feel sorry for people who go out of their way to feel sorry for themselves. And that's how I feel about you, Greg. I don't feel sorry for you at all because you feel sorry for yourself way too much. Once I was through MEPS, it wasn't long before they had me sitting at the airport waiting to fly south. I wonder how accurate he's going to get about his military experience. Oh my god. I wonder if he's going to strip down naked and refuse to kill a rabbit. What do you think? All of the new recruits gathered at the entrance of our plane. We easily identified each other somehow. Maybe it was the look of dread we carried, knowing the next couple of months of our lives were going to wreck us. We were all probably running from something. The strong desire for flight is so consuming. No matter what our reasons for being there was... No matter what our reasons for being there were. Reasons is plural. You gotta use were, stupid face. I'm pretty sure my family dysfunction had them all beat. Oh my god, you just victim played again! Like, I'm the biggest fuck up here. Fuck you. When our plane landed in Texas, no one was there to greet us. We had to follow signs in the airport just to get to the waiting area designed specifically for military members. Like, I don't really know too much about military training and how that works, but I'm pretty sure that they're not going to just coddle you right off the plane. Like, oh, welcome to the military, guys. Like, no, it's just, like, fucking regimented. The room was insanely crowded already. Their schedule was specifically targeted at us arriving in the middle of the night, in part so that meeting the training instructors for the first time would be twice as terrifying. Something about hearing screams of pure rage at 1 a.m. cuts deeper through your skin than screams accompanied by sunshine. What the fuck was that? It's just mental terrorism 101. Thanks for that, military psychopaths. Okay. After we were guided like mindless cattle onto the... He did it again! Buses! B-U-S-S-E-S. Ah! B-U-S-E-S is plural of bus, stupid. Stupid face! Arriving in a seemingly endless line just outside the airport, we were driven directly to our training facility at the local base. Each bus was welcomed by the screams of sociopaths and people who were no doubt never hugged as children. Oh my fucking god, this kid is so... Oh, how much more do I have? Oh no, I have so much more. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. 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 After waiting for about 30 minutes outside, they directed the group of 40 or so trainees with me into a small classroom. Oh, I'm so bored. Once we were inside, they verified our individual identities and assigned us flight numbers. After this process was complete, we were called out by the flight number we were given, and from that point, we were directed to our new homes. This is how mechanical it is. Like, this is just so... It's so boring. It's just, we did this, and then 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 they were no doubt not hugged as children. These facilities were essentially composed of one massive room shared with 60 other trainees. I could complain, but it was exactly what I expected. No, it wasn't. I really don't know what Greg was expecting when he went into the military. Honor and the prestige. But he hated the fact that he had to work for it. As training progressed, I quickly realized that I had abusive training instructors. I know this because shortly after I graduated BMT... What's BMT? One of the TIs... What's TI? Who led our flight, Sergeant Johnson, was demoted for punching a trainee in the face. She regularly took things too far. It didn't help that she knew how to abuse us mentally, physically, and emotionally. Most training instructors would leave the heart alone, but for Sergeant Johnson, emotional abuse was her primary function. You're a fucking expert on emotional abuse, aren't you? That's why you're gonna write all about this woman. When I first saw Sergeant Johnson, like, what are you working backwards for again? It's just, like, this does not make a good story. This just makes, like, a disjointed mishmash of bullshit. When I first saw Sergeant Johnson, I thought she was a gorgeous little firecracker of a woman. She's a military person. She's in the military. She doesn't need your condescending, sexist bullshit thrown at her. She was about 5 feet tall, had an enormous amount of freckles and red hair. Ew! If we had the energy or privacy to gratify ourselves at night while in training, we would no doubt all be doing it to her. Such a feminist. Much feminism, Greg. The first thing you do is fucking objectify your superior. Great. But the fantasy with my training instructor only went as far as my ignorance of her true nature. The woman turned into a monster, and not the kind you'd expect from a drill sergeant. Let's dive into an exact scenario. Oh, let's. I can't wait. Ah! We were a couple weeks into training, and I was almost entirely alone in the sleeping area. Most all the other trainees elected to attend a church that fit their religious beliefs that day. Okay. I had no beliefs and refused to go to any church. You whiny little child. Sergeant Johnson had to stay behind with us and basically babysit due to us not being willing to pretend to love any god. Like, why do you have to add all these extras onto it? Why can't you just say she was there with the trainees who weren't attending church? As I was cleaning my locker by my bunk, Sergeant Johnson screamed, "Trainee Lindfeld." I screamed back, "Trainee Lindfeld reports." Sergeant Johnson stood at the entrance with another female military member and angrily stared in my direction. "Get over here and lay on your back immediately," she screamed at me. In basic, you're taught not to think for yourself. You're taught to do exactly as they instruct, otherwise you're punished through paperwork or forced exercise. And I totally believe that this happens in the military. I believe that they discipline the shit out of you. I know that I could never handle it. That's why I didn't go. Also because I have flat feet and arthritis. I wanted to there was a brief time in high school where I thought about doing video technology for the Navy. My dad was in the Navy. My dad was there during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And he always talked about the Navy. I'm like, oh, I think I would do it. My dad flat out was like, no, you couldn't handle it. I was like, oh. He's like, oh, not that you're not athletic. Just don't think you'd like it. I was like, all right. But, I did, for a period of time, look into, video technologies, communications in the Navy. But it wasn't for me, I realized, so. I moved to the ground in front of the two women as they commanded. Sergeant Johnson then called over the other trainees and instructed them to do the same. Despite us only being feet away from her, she screamed as if we were still across the room. "Put your feet and hands straight up in the air, trainees." We all proceeded to put our feet and hands in the air. Oh, God, this is painful. It was at that point she started chuckling and the other female drill sergeant, to the other female drill sergeant. She said, and I quote, "See, that's called a dead cockroach. That's what I was talking about." All right. The sergeant made us hold that position for a good 3 to 5 minutes. If you've never achieved the position I'm referencing, I encourage you to. It's likely the only way you'll understand how painful it can be. Like, fuck you, Greg. I had to do a lot of, like, disciplinary shit in sports, too. I don't feel sorry for you at all. It's actually ridiculous how many exercises and positions can quickly become intensely painful. If you just push slightly farther than you're used to. However, the dead cockroach wasn't even an exercise. It was humiliation. Boo the fuck who? You didn't establish a character that we could feel sorry for, so I don't feel sorry for you. Even if she is fucking emotionally abusing you, I don't feel sorry for you. I don't really care that she called us idiots while we did it. I wasn't worried about feeling treated as if I was a piece of property. I was used to that by now. My main focus was not to upset the TIs more than they already were. I could never allow myself to be the weakest link, as the moment I fell out of line, I would be washed back and possibly have to repeat the entire week of basic. What? At one point in basic, due to my failure to maintain my composure, I was forced to point and laugh at the other trainees as they did push-ups. Alright? I am sick and tired of your morons screwing up day after day, the male technical sergeant in charge of our entire flight screamed. Oh my god. How? You're embarrassing the Air Force, you're embarrassing me, and you're no doubt humiliating the very vaginas you were born from. Reducing women to just vaginas again. That's the second time he's done it in this book. Hearing him say that caused me to let out a slight but noticeable burst of laughter under my breath. A burst of laughter is not slight, you fucking moron. It was one of the stupidest things I ever heard a person say. Well, you saying a slight burst of laughter is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard a person say. Unfortunately for me, the tech sergeant heard my slip-up and marched towards me so he could scream in my face. All right, trainee Lindfeld, how about you stand over there? That's real threatening. He pointed just to the right of where the entire flight was standing in formation. As I marched over to the spot he commanded my fellow trainees to right face. Okay. The sergeant then commanded them to get into push-up position and immediately instructed to point at all of them on the ground. Like, he sets up what happened and then goes into the story, but we already know it happened because you set it up already. Like, this is just so boring. You have no concept of how to fucking write and adhere to a storyline. The tech sergeant said sternly, "Trainee Lindfeld, you will laugh at them and remind them they are pushing because of you." I was trying so hard not to lose it again on the tech sergeant with laughter. If he did, he could see I was amused, so he marched over to me and got in my face once more. "Do you want to be washed back? Do you want to repeat the entire last week with another flight?" he asked in a low, angry tone. In that moment, I almost instantly lost all amusement from the situation. Like, you laugh at a tech sergeant or whatever, and then you laugh at him again. Like, that's not what the military is doing. Like, you're not... Like, you're supposed to be disciplined enough not to laugh at that stupid shit. I thought it's a dumb quote. But then, like, now you're making your whole squad pay. He doesn't care. He just is like, oh, it's still so ridiculous. I had to do this. I absolutely despise wasting hard work. If I continued my attitude, I would be screwing myself. So I proceeded to saying aloud, in a monotone voice, ha ha ha, you're all pushing because of me. The drill sergeant was pleased. Good, continue, he screamed in a voice that would make the average person think he was losing his mind. Why even join the military? Like, if he just thinks he's above everybody. Ha ha ha, you're all pushing because of me, I said again. Good, scream it, trainee Lindfeld, the training instructor said with an increasingly large grin on his face. Oh my god. Ha ha ha, you're all pushing because of me, I screamed as I stared at all the trainees doing push-ups. They were clearly getting more and more angry with me as the pain in their arms intensified. Oh my god, please tell me that they fucking frag this bitch. Do the sock and the soap thing and then just beat the shit out of him. That would be so awesome. In that moment, the reality of my situation sank in. I personally liked doing push-ups. The more I did them, the more I could do. It was incredible to watch my arms essentially level up. These trainees obviously didn't feel the same way I did. Like, you fucking asshole. Like, well, I like doing push-ups. I'm just not doing them right now, and you guys should really like doing them. Like, fuck you. I had seen people in movies that were killed by their fellow man for less than what I was actively doing to my peers. What? Just looking at their faces, shaking, turning red, their eyes locked on me as they pushed. It was one of the few moments in my life that changed me. Okay. I am living amongst animals that know their emotions more than basic reasoning. These were animals that could only see what was in front of them, and in their haze of anger, they didn't have even a slight idea of what was over the horizon. Now you're judging them for not thinking ahead? No, they're in the moment. Like, people, it's okay for people to live in the moment sometimes. And right now they're mad at you for being a fucking asshole. It was the instinct-driven, intellectually bankrupt animal mentality. Oh my god, so many adjectives. So many of my peers embraced, and for that I learned to always fear them. How could I possibly trust these raging idiots? I can't believe anything. I hate everything. I hate it. I'm often a person who plans before he acts. If I want something done, I rarely do it in the moment. I lay it all out and proceed when I am certain of success. You are so calculated and manipulative and creepy. Like, some people do live in the moment. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's when your spontaneity gets you in fucking trouble, then there's a problem. It's only when I'm faced with extremes that I am forced to react without forethought. These children in the bodies of men, laying on their aching chests at my feet, they were performing such a simple exercise, and it caused them to look as murderous as I'd ever seen anyone be. I was nothing like them. Really? Didn't you just spend like 4 chapters talking about how much you wish you could kill people and how you daydream about fucking killing people? Oh, God, I'm sorry. I need to see... Oh, thank God, 2 more pages. This is the most grating fucking thing I've ever read in my life. Scream it, Lindfeld. Wow, trainee Lindfeld, the TI commanded. Ha ha ha. You're all pushing because of me. My yell was no longer monotone. The confident scream I had before was replaced by something weak and distorted. The instructor could see I was disturbed by what was happening. It was only then he commanded everyone to stand and reassume their formation at the position of attention. Like, the attention position. The position of attention, like... While my experiences in basic were not that significant... Oh, except, you just told us that it changed you! Fucking God! Ugh. Those select moments stood out to me. Yeah, they changed you. Those moments made me learn a lot about how easy it is to manipulate and control people. Wow. Sergeant Johnson alone could write a book on emotional warfare. Every other weekend she was threatening to withhold letters from home. There's a little, like, string. She could tell us one day... Okay, so like, you were just talking about the other sergeant, and now we're back to Sergeant Johnson. She would tell us one day we were amazing, and the next day we were scum. It's probably, like, kind of what happened to you in your childhood, Greg. This is why you're so fucked up, because I feel like what happened is no matter what, he's going to idealize his mom, right? No matter what. But I feel like, you know, this is me playing armchair psychologist. That's all this is happening right now. I think maybe she would pray, like, one of the things that happen to people who have narcissistic personality disorder is that they're either met with insignificant things. They're either met with extreme praise or extreme vilification. And there's never any balance to it. Like, even the most mundane thing that they do, it's either they're praised like crazy or they're really vilified. So you have these, it goes back and forth like this. Extreme praise, extreme vilification, extreme praise, extreme vilification. And then it just never gets balanced. There's never any, like, healthy balance here. So that's why these extremes happen so much. Like this. Back and forth. You'll either do it this one day or this the other day. That's why Greg's either really, really happy or he's really, really upset. And really feels like he wants to vilify people all the time. And then the balance, and then unfortunately that becomes the balance. Like one day you're either going to get praised or vilified and you don't know which is which. And, so that's why you either see people as, like, that's why you see yourself above everybody or below everybody. But, like, either way, the attention is going to come back on you. I don't know. I have to do something to help myself not care about this. These animals posing as airmen in training would take it out on each other, not seeing she was fabricating problems out of nothing just to make us squirm for her sadistic pleasure. The enjoyment Sergeant Johnson took out of putting us in the position of dead insects, torturing us by using gravity itself against us. What? Wait, let me read that sentence again because I don't think it was a sentence. The enjoyment Sergeant Johnson took out of putting us in the position of dead insects, torturing us by using gravity itself against us. There's no, like, object of that sentence. There's no, like, resolution to that sentence. It's not a sentence. It's actually a very, very long fucking fragment. The way my fellow trainees fell for every trick and trap along the way, some even breaking down, literally crying for their mommy. The only respect I had left for anyone in that entire building was the tech sergeant. He showed me in a matter of minutes how quickly he could turn a group of men against me. Oh my fucking God. It was something most people never learn. You know why? Because most people aren't prone to manipulation. Greg once said that he thinks everybody is manipulative. And I don't think that that is true. I think people can manipulate people. Some people have the ability to manipulate a situation, but to be constantly manipulative in order to get your way is not something everybody does. Like, that, it just isn't, it can't be like that. It just is not like that. You know, of course everybody could, like, you know, it's degrees of things. In psychology, there has to be an established pattern in order to diagnose somebody. You know, once in a while, if I have manipulated a situation, I can't think of anything right now. If I have manipulated a situation and said something hoping for a reaction that would benefit me, like, okay, that happens. If I'm doing that on a consistent basis in big major events in my life, then yes, then that could diagnose me as somebody with a personality disorder. But doing things like that once in a while, like, you know, that's it can't be that bad. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I do this like every day. Or people in general do that every day. But establishing a clear pattern of manipulation is a problem. Men are weak, often able to be controlled by even mild influences. Most men I've known should not be trusted. Like, what all of a sudden? Okay. I joined the military to escape the enemy in my home, but here I found the world is full of people who are ready and willing to write you off over nothing. What is leading him to this conclusion? Maybe the hatred I expressed earlier in this journal wasn't so far off. Oh, God. Maybe I'm not becoming more mature, but simply losing my grip on reality. Yeah, losing your grip on reality? You fucking lost it already. Escaping my father gave me hope, and like a new goldfish given to a child. What the hell is all those, like, random animal analogies? My hope is rapidly expiring. People say teenagers are stupid and out of touch with reality, but if our bodies die the more we age, what's to say we, as people, don't also die emotionally too? What am I reading? What am I reading? Are we really growing up, or is that just a nice way of saying we're dying both on the inside and out? That's the end of chapter 9. God, this was long. Oh, that's an hour I'll never get back. I just don't know where he's going with all of this. Like, you go into your military experience now, and, like, and that leads you to, like, everybody's dying? What am I... I don't know. I'm done with the military stories. I'm so done with this story. How far along are we, guys? Oh, boy, how far along are we? 41%. Oh my God, we're rapidly approaching the halfway point. Okay, I have to go away now. I wasn't gonna do this today. I was gonna give myself a brain break, but here we all are. All right, thank you for watching. Take care, bitches.